Taming the High Cost of College, Episode 55.
You have kids, they grow up, and before you know it, it's time to plan for college.
Where do you start?
How much is it going to cost?
Will you qualify for financial aid?
Should you be looking into scholarships?
When will you be able to retire?
What about student loans?
The list of questions is never ending. The good news is, all the answers are right here. Welcome to the Taming the High Cost of College podcast. Here is your host, certified financial planner, Brad Baldridge.
Hello, and welcome to Taming the High Cost of College. I'm your host, Brad Baldridge. Today we have an interview with Ryan Parker. He is a culinary education expert and also a podcaster. And today we're going to talk to him about the culinary schools and the different culinary paths that are available for students. The culinary path is a little bit different than the typical college path in that you need to get a lot of hands-on experience. So there's a good chance you're going to spend some time in a kitchen learning your craft. We talk with Ryan about some of the schools out there that provide four-year degrees as well as 2-year degrees and other paths. So if you have a student that's watching the Food Network and wanting to become that celebrity chef or is interested in getting involved in the food industry in a different path, perhaps working at a food company or other places like that, there's a lot of great information here. So I think this is a great episode for certainly parents of any student that might want to grow up to be some form of cook or manage a kitchen or get involved in nutrition in a hospital or all the different career paths that are out there. As always, we have show notes available at tamingthehighcostofcollege/55. All right, let's go ahead and jump into the interview. All right, today we're sitting down with Ryan Parker. He's a culinary expert. He's got his own podcast and other things going on. So welcome, Ryan.
Hey, Brad. How are you today?
I am doing great.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Not a problem. Before we jump into anything, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came to do what you do?
Well, I've been cooking for the last 20 years. I went to culinary school originally in 1995 at a certificate program. It's no longer there. It's called Western Culinary Institute. And since then, I had been working in restaurants for about 10 years. And I realized along that way, my favorite part of the job was actually teaching all of the new employees that came in, all of the culinary skills that, we employed in our day-to-day work. So eventually I actually went back to school and received my bachelor's degree from the Culinary Institute of America and went on to have my master's degree at Florida International University. And since then, I've been in culinary education in one form or another, both for private schools and large retail grocery chains. I've done a lot of culinary design and development for them. And currently I'm back in the classroom, which has been one of my favorite places to be, as a culinary instructor.
Wow. So you've been all things culinary for a long time.
Yeah, I really enjoy it. I've been cooking ever since I was a kid. My great-grandmother got me into the kitchen, as a youngster to keep me out of trouble and keep me away from my big brother and my cousins who would, tease me and get me in trouble while I was on the farm. So I've been doing it for a very long time.
Yeah. Well, great. So let's tap into that experience a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about a high school kid that's thinking of a career in some form of culinary. What are the options as far as what types of degrees that you can get and kind of compare and contrast them a little?
Well, if you look at a lot of the major options, what we have is you have schools like the Culinary Institute of America or Johnson & Wales and a few other regional programs that will offer anything from, weekend classes for people who want to just kind of see what it's like, all the way up to, degree granting programs. So the Culinary Institute of America, which I'm a graduate from, so I like to pimp them every once in a while. But they have everything all the way up to bachelor's degrees, anything from culinary arts to baking arts management. And now they have culinary science management as part of their bachelor's program. And Johnson & Wales offers a plethora of different degrees that go along in the culinary field, anywhere from culinary journalism to, culinary arts management as well. And you can take that all the way down to certificate programs that are, a year versus maybe the 2 or 3 years that you would see at Johnson & Wales or the Culinary Institute of America.
Okay. So if you choose to get essentially a bachelor's degree in something culinary, you're spending time in a kitchen and time in classroom doing
Yeah,
general education?
Those programs, the degree granting programs are very robust. And I know at Johnson & Wales and the Culinary Institute of America and programs that are as robust as those, you can really customize your program after you get the base education. So a lot of these programs will have you in the kitchen almost every day, which is great because when you enter the kitchen professionally, you need to kind of have the feel and the flow of a kitchen. So not only will you get those great culinary skills, the base level culinary skills that you need, which include everything from all of your cooking techniques to knife skills to understanding some of the management needed as well. You'll also receive a great education when it comes to business and communications and writing and history. So you'll have these great programs that really can take you so many places, which is great.
Okay, so then what would the difference be between a shorter certificate program and a bachelor's then?
So you have those robust programs, that the degree granting programs, and then the certificate programs are really professional skill based. So they'll give you the culinary skills needed to walk into a kitchen and work, have an advantage over somebody else who just is walking into a kitchen with no education in the culinary program, by having you immersed in the kitchen classroom every day. So you won't necessarily have a wide range of educational background from the certificate program point of view, but you will have certainly a wonderful solid base to build on when it comes to direct culinary skills. So in the certificate programs, you'll be in the kitchen 3 or 4 days a week and sometimes 4 or 5 hours a day, and you're actually working directly with food almost every single day. And they've removed all of the extraneous information, so you can really focus on having these hard skills that you need to walk into a kitchen and be professional and have a leg up on other potential employees who may just be walking in off the street.
Okay, so that would be another option, I guess, is to do some sort of on-the-job training or interning. You just walk into the local family restaurant and say, I am now a cook and put me to work.
Well, quite frankly, some of the best chefs that I know have never spent a day in culinary school. And, it takes a lot longer to gain those skills and to gain some understanding. So it is definitely an option for, anyone in high school or leaving high school or even career changers in the future to go and start at the very, very bottom. And usually that means washing a lot of dishes, which is, before I went to culinary school, that's where I started. I was a dishwasher and I still wash dishes, when it needs to be. But you can walk in and you can build a skill, or you can't, which could take 2 or 3 years to really have a solid base, or you can go into whether it's the certificate programs or the career or the degree granting programs, and you can walk out after a year or two and have a much more refined set of skills in walking in. So you do have the option of not attending culinary school to begin with, but there's definitely advantages to taking, a great culinary program and absorbing everything you can.
Right. Okay. So what kind of jobs is culinary school lining you up for? I mean, I think we all realize that the kitchen of a typical restaurant is one location that you might end up, but what else might you do? I mean, are these kind of people working in hospitals? Are they,
Oh yeah, definitely.
working for food companies like Oscar Mayer or whatever? Where else can you go with it?
That's a great question. And honestly, the answer is you can go a lot more places today than you could even when I originally went to culinary school. We're seeing a lot of people walking into restaurants, yes. Healthcare has become a really growing field because as our general population gets older, people still need to eat. So you can walk into a hospital and you can do like a lot of wellness or healthcare cooking, and you would have to learn some, special dietary restrictions and how to cook for different dietary restrictions. But most of those you'll find once you start working in an environment like that, you'll learn their processes, which is great. But beyond that, the typical entry level position comes, mostly in a kitchen, whether it's your family restaurant down the street or even a chain restaurant, regional chains or national chains. But one of my best experiences has been working in retail grocery. We're seeing that a lot of that category where they have the prepared foods, that's opening up every year. It's getting larger and larger. Some of the other great things you can do is become a food journalist. A lot of, with the popularity of the Food Network over the last 15 years, we see people who want to just leave culinary school and be on TV. Well, that can happen for some, but a little bit of a luck is involved in that as well. But you could go in and be part of their menu development team or the research and development team for a media company like that. Or, just like you said, you can go into an Oscar Mayer or a McDonald's or a Chili's and become part of their research and development. All of these large chains have, teams of people who actually develop their food for them. So those are also opportunities that are available as well.
All right. Would you potentially take a minor or pair this with another major? Or I guess what I'm thinking about in the hospital setting, you said learning about nutrition. So might you take a nutrition minor? And is that type of thing available?
It is available. Some of the larger programs that we're talking about, the ones that are degree granting, you can take after you have your base culinary program taken or under your belt. You can actually customize the rest of your education depending on what your interests are. And these are also becoming greater in choices, which is really nice. I know the CIA has started offering a lot more media training and a lot more in the nutrition and wellness program, and just like their culinary science program that they introduced just a few years ago, which has been really interesting to watch, because what we're seeing is how you can apply basic science to the kitchen. And if you're going through that program, you can then move into a lot of research and development positions as well. And I would say that the expectation you should have or parents should have when your child leaves culinary school is that they're not going to be, quote unquote, a chef walking out the door unless they have incredible skills, but they will have a lot more opportunities than somebody who has no formal training.
So then, I guess another path, probably popularized by the Food Network, would be I'm going to go be a restaurant owner. I want to be that famous chef that has my name on the door.
Sure.
Is culinary school the right path for that kind of thing? And
I think that's kind of been the bug for a lot of people since the beginning of restaurants. Yes, becoming that celebrity chef has become more popularized ever since the Food Network came on the scene. But leaving culinary school, I think it's one of those things that I guess the famous saying is you can have $1 million and open a restaurant, and about a year later you may have nothing. Restaurant ownership is difficult, and it takes a very special type of person to be a restaurant owner. You have to have a very good business acumen to follow that up, not only with culinary skills, unless you're partnering with someone. But yes, restaurant ownership is a possibility, but I think it's one of those things that you have to build into your career. And if that is a goal for someone who is going to culinary school, they have to understand that you really have to track yourself in that direction. Just like even if you wanted to enter the media field, or you wanted to be an executive chef at a resort or a golf club, you simply have to start planning for that career as you start entering culinary school. I think that's a really great outlook. Okay.
So let's assume we're going to go down to some sort of culinary career now, and we're thinking about these various schools. Mm-hmm. How do we know a quality program from someone that just wants their money? How do we know if it's, we're going to get what we pay for, so to speak?
Well, I think you can do a lot based on reputation. Programs like Johnson & Wales and the Culinary Institute of America, they have decades of experience behind them, a lot of notoriety, a wonderful reputation. But there's also some really good regional programs. And if you've never heard of them or if they don't have a reputation that precedes them, really what you're looking for is some accreditation. So they should have some accreditation by the state or national accreditation, and from a program called the American Culinary Federation. The American Culinary Federation is a national program that will give certification to schools based on their performance, and they have a certain level of standards. So that's really nice. That's something to look for, to make sure that they're accredited through programs like that as well.
Okay. So let's say you're visiting some of these schools with your son or daughter. Is there things that you would do, especially differently than what you might do if you're visiting the local state college about an accounting degree? I mean,
sure.
You need to get in the kitchen. You need to check the temperature of the fridge. What would you do while you're there?
Well, yeah, it'd be nice if all the equipment is working for sure. I think one of the things that I look for, first of all, is one, you're going to schedule a tour with the program. And most every culinary program will have an admissions department and admissions reps that would be happy to schedule a tour with you. And I would take a look at the facility. First of all, as a parent or a student considering, culinary programs, is the location the right area, and how do we have the ability to get to school? Number one, are we moving away? Is that something that we need to coach our teenager through? How do we handle a move away from home? It might be their first time away from home. But so location would be good thing to start with, and understanding the needs of your teen, how they'll handle being away from home, or can we afford to have housing at some of these schools, or do we need to get a program that's closer to home so they can live at home and save some money? Secondly, I'd say schedule the tour with one of the admissions reps and really take a good look at, while you're there, the facility. Is it clean? Is it organized? Is it set up well? And some indications of cleanliness you can see right off the bat. Organization. How are the students working in the classroom? Is there enough room for the students to work so they can set up their station and their work area and have enough room to really properly perform the skills that are being taught that day? And as far as organization, are the classrooms situated in a space in the building where everything is accessible? And do they have resources outside of the kitchen that can be helpful to the success of a student?
Okay. So are most culinary schools then kind of stand alone, or are they part of a bigger school where there's also biology majors and chemistry majors and whatever other?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So most of the major schools, I guess, started off as standalone. But if you look at Johnson and Wales, they've developed hospitality programs around their culinary program, and so they have other disciplines within their schools depending on their location. The Culinary Institute of America basically is a standalone program. They've got a few campuses across the country, one in Texas, one in Northern California, and one in New York. Most of those are standalone. You'll find some of the career colleges may have other programs that exist within either the same building or the same system. They may even, that aren't culinary related. They may have cosmetology programs or medical assistant programs. And there's, so having those all together may mean you're interacting with students who aren't necessarily part of the culinary program in a very limited way, outside of the classroom and the common areas, et cetera. So most programs are standalone programs, the major ones, and have built maybe some ancillary disciplines outside of culinary, like the hospitality or the journalism or the media management.
Mm-hmm. And then is it possible to kind of climb the ladder, so to speak, start somewhere with an associate's degree and then use that to get some work experience or whatever, or just working your nights and weekends while you go on to take the next level?
Yeah,
you transfer from schools, or are the credits not going to work out that well?
Well, transfer credits are all based on the acceptance of transfer credits are all based on the school that you may want to transfer to. So there's not a hard and fast rule with that, which is sometimes confusing and can be a detriment to the student. So I think that goes back to our point about when you're checking out a school to really make sure it's a good fit to begin with. And not only scheduling those tours with the admissions rep, but to walk in being willing to interact with the students that you may come in contact with, or the instructors that are there, or any of the administration that may be around while you're taking the tour. And I would always recommend that you take a little bit of control of that tour and really have some focused questions as you walk through the door.
Right. So this transferring credit idea, I want to delve into that a little bit because
Sure.
I think a lot of people make a lot of assumptions in that area. But as an example, if you're interested in some of our local private schools, you can actually go to the 2-year and 4-year programs at the state schools and transfer into these private schools.
Right.
But that transfer system is all set up. They've essentially said, if you're going to go to the local 2-year college, these are the courses that we will accept and transfer.
Okay.
If you take biology 107, that transfers. If you take biology 104, that does not. And they've looked at it ahead of time. So if you plan well, then you know, hey, what I'm doing here is going to count,
Right.
and I can take it with me.
I would say for most culinary programs, if you know that there are ancillary, or if you want to start at a separate school, like say your local community college or your 2-year program, and want to go into a culinary school after that, what I would do is contact the school and plan that out ahead of time, because it is very subjective based on the school itself. The receiving school, meaning if you're going to transfer into a culinary program, that culinary program, you really need to find out which ones will transfer, and they are not as straightforward as what you had just described.
Right. So to your knowledge, then they're not pre-building it at this point anyway.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. And so I would say talk to the admissions rep, tell them what your plans are, and ask them if that would benefit you at all before you went and spent money on either one of those programs, whether it's the 2-year school or the career school, the culinary program.
Right. Okay. So what do you think the job prospects are for the typical, let's start with like the 4-year graduate? Does it seem like there's a lot of opportunity? What types of jobs would they find? What's a typical starting salary? Can you give us some ideas of how that looks?
Sure. One of my favorite things to say is people always need to eat and people always get sick. So there's usually plenty of work in restaurants and plenty of work in hospitals. And if you're in the culinary field, you double up in that hospital area because they're always looking for new people to work in their food service programs. So the market is growing. And I think what's great about it is now we're also seeing non-traditional companies, like even the tech startups. I just moved from San Francisco back to Michigan, but living in San Francisco, you had all of these tech startups who had in-house culinary departments because they wanted that to be a perk for their employees. That was one of the ways they would, incentivize people coming to work for them, is all of these great, culinary programs that you could eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner there 5 days a week.
Right. Yeah. Just on an aside there, do you think that the reason they're willing to feed their workers is that way they can grab some dinner and go back to work if they want?
I have a feeling that's pretty much exactly what it is. It keeps them, it's a captive audience, and it keeps them even more captive because they don't leave the building to work. The other part of it is it creates a wonderful community and culture as well. It's one of those things that my feeling is it's one of those things that you really get to know people over food, whether it's the corporate lunch that's being supplied to you or you guys go out to dinner after work. But I think being around the table and eating lunch or dinner with somebody really gives you an opportunity to know more about them because everybody's guard gets let down a little bit. Mm-hmm. So you're seeing those opportunities open up. The market is growing every year because people are eating out more and more every year as well. So you're seeing, even just from like a corporate restaurant standpoint, the chains, whether they're a regional or national chains, you're seeing them grow every year. And if we want to talk about salary, I would expect, no matter where you graduate culinary school, unless you have exceptional skills, just be prepared to start near the bottom. Even though you come out with a degree, you'll progress a lot faster. But typically when you walk into someone's kitchen, they're going to want you to start off at the bottom because they want you to prove yourself. And so if you do have that culinary education and that background and this base skills that you're getting through these programs, you'll find opportunities a lot faster, whether it's moving up the ladder or the kitchen, the brigade system in that particular kitchen, or you are proving yourself a lot faster, so you will be given a lot more opportunities quicker. So it's an opportunity to really grow faster. I think that's the greatest thing that you get out of a culinary program.
Right. So it's a typical in that industry then to say the education is important to us, but we still want to see what you got before we're going to.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. In some places, before they even hire you, they'll tell you, well, you need to come in and work this weekend and we'll judge you from there. And that's a great opportunity for you to prove your value and your worth, to show the skills that you've gained through culinary education. And it may be that you walked in applying for a prep cook position, which is, mainly a starting point in a lot of like major restaurant kitchens or even hospital kitchens. And you prove that you can do a lot more. And so maybe they'll say, well, we've got a line position open and we think you can handle it. Would you like to do that? But be prepared to showcase your skills, I would say, right off the bat.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, we're kind of running out of time. So do you have any quick tips that parents and students can use on this in their endeavor to become a cook or a culinary person?
Yeah. My quick tip for parents who have a student even in junior high and high school who loves to cook at home and is talking to you about a culinary career, have them go out and work for 6 months in the industry, whether it's waiting tables or back in the kitchen prepping. I would pose that challenge to them and say, okay, I really want to see if you like the professional world of it, and have them do it for 6 months. You have to, and just be plain and honest with them. You say, you don't have to work there forever, but let's give it a try for 3 to 6 months and see how you feel about it then. Because that is a great way to gauge whether or not you're going to love culinary school. Because even if you're going to culinary school to become a food writer or do the culinary science programs or work in media, when you're in culinary school, you will be in the kitchen for 4 or 5 hours at a time, sometimes longer, depending on which part of the program you're in. And you have to have a little bit of stamina and strength and kitchen knowledge to understand how to move throughout the kitchen effectively. So I would say, if you're a parent, I would encourage your future culinary student to go into the kitchen, a professional kitchen, and get a job for at least 3 to 6 months and talk to them about it. How do you feel about it? Is this what you expected? Is there anything that we need to address at this point? And that way it will help you ease them into culinary school as well, because it won't be such a surprise when they get into the kitchen when they get to school.
Right. So it sounds like a lot of things, it's not what it's like the job's not like what you see on TV, so to speak?
Not even close.
Okay.
Not even close. It's a wonderful world, and I'm so happy about being in the culinary world and the food world for the last 20 years because, number one, I've made some great friends, great networking opportunities, and I've always been able to find work no matter where I live.
All right. Well, I really appreciate all the great information. And I know you've got a podcast and a couple other things. So can you tell us a little bit about what you're doing and where people can learn more about you
Sure.
and your things?
Oh, I'd love to. That'd be great. I have a website called thefoodcraftsman.com. You go over there, and that's where my podcast lives. You can find it in iTunes or Stitcher. But mainly what we're talking about there is we're talking to food entrepreneurs about their businesses and how to help them grow. And you can find out more information about that, or you can go to ryankparker.com, where you can become a client of mine, where I help you develop culinary programs for your world.
All right. Well, thank you, Ryan, and I'm sure we'll stay in touch. And it was a lot of great information. I learned a ton. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Brad. It was an honor being here, and I really appreciate you having me on.
All right. That was a great interview with Ryan Parker. Again, show notes are available at tamingthehighcostofcollege/54. Ryan also provided us a great infographic, so that's available on our website. And if you're into pinning or whatever other technology is out there, you can share that infographic. That would be great. As always, we have the show notes at Taming the High Cost of College, and I'd appreciate a review if you can go to iTunes or Stitcher and just leave your comments there and give us a 5-star rating if we're providing some good value. I would appreciate it. That's all for this week. We'll see you next week.
Thank you for listening to the Taming the High Cost of College podcast. Now it's time for you to take action. Head to tamingthehighcostofcollege.com for show notes, bonus content, and to leave feedback for Brad. The next step on your college journey starts now.
Brad Baldridge is a registered representative of Cambridge Investment Research and an investment advisor representative of Cambridge Investment Research Advisors, a registered investment advisor. Securities are offered through Cambridge Investment Research Incorporated, a broker-dealer and member of FINRA and SIPC. Brad owns 2 companies, Baldridge Wealth Management and Baldridge College Solutions. The Baldridge companies are not affiliated with Cambridge Investment Research.